What is up, guys? Welcome back. We are back in the F-18 today. Normally I don't do two back-to-back streams with the same aircraft just to avoid getting kind of bored and stuff like that, but when they implemented the C radar and some other things, they also added GMT Radar, which is ground moving target, which kind of works the same way. We can track some ground targets and lock onto them, and it kind of feels like using the air-to-air radar. It's pretty cool. So we got some AGM-65Fs, Foxtrots, which are the electro-optical ones. And before this update, I pretty much always use I think it's the Echo, which is the laser-guided one, because it's easier to use with the targeting pod. But now with the GMT radar, it is pretty easy. And I made a little mission for us. It's going to have some air-to-ground, some air-to-air, we'll mix of stuff. So we got 3 AIM-120 Charlies, 2 AGM-65 Foxtrots, and 2 AIM-9 X's. First target, primary target, is a transport truck that's moving to a safe house somewhere, and then we'll see what else unfolds from there. Let's get this bad boy started. Battery, arm our seat, and APU. It's a VMFA Marines, so I'm flying out of a ground base today. Al Dhafra. There's only 2 waypoints. Another thing that I'm going to start doing, if you guys are interested in the missions that I'm making, I'll put together a briefing and stuff so you guys can kind of figure out what's going on, and I'll put those in the Discord server on the the missions page. I'll just upload the MIS files there, so if anybody wants those, they can have them. They're typically not too challenging, as you guys know. But I like to include like a variety of different types of weapon implementation and stuff like that, so it's not just fly out, blow some stuff up, and then fly back. It is going to be getting dark, so I'm going to go ahead and roll on the console and instrument lights. Roll left, roll left.
Roll left, roll left. Flight controls. Flight controls.
Engine number 1. Start aligning our INS, radar on standby, FLIR on standby. Start a bid test. As far as weapons and stuff, there's no setup needed. The AGM-65Fs, they're kind of like the D version that I usually use on the A-10, so they're electro-optical, and basically it's just going to slave to the radar once we get that locked up. So the first waypoint, we got 2 waypoints. The first one is just going to get us in the ballpark where our first target is. Once that guy is eliminated, we'll see what else we got to do. Waypoint 2 is going to be Al Ain International Airport. We're at Al Dhafra. Al Ain will be a diversion if we need fuel or anything. There's no aerial refueling in this mission, which is probably fortunate because that's frustrating for me and probably frustrating to watch me try to do. FCS reset and takeoff trim. "45 seconds. feel like I'm forgetting something. There's no enunciator lights. The only thing on there is INS degrade and canopy we're waiting on. Okay. IFA, we'll go ahead and turn the radar on, which I think it's inhibited on the ground, should be in standby mode, and it is. Waypoint 1, switches over to FCS. Google flight control action. Quick bypass on field, let's go. Takeoff controls, checked, wings down and locked. Flaps are set, hook set, harnesses set. Warning lights checked, nose wheel steering's on low, and seats armed. Takeoff checklist complete.
Focus 1-1, passing waypoint 2 at 8,000.
Clear final. Temperatures and pressures are stable. A little afterburner takeoff here. See ya. Tap the brakes, gear coming up. And flaps. Oh, what did I wish? Don't need air mode right now, thanks. Take it out of burner now too. Save some of this gas. Did not put a bingo fuel state in there either. Go 4,000. Actually switch it over to air-to-ground mode. Turn on the Mavericks now to get the electro-optical system aligning. It takes about 3 minutes. 67 miles, not going to take us too long to get there. So the radar defaults to map mode. The one that we're looking for today is GMT, ground moving target. And we'll set the range to 40. And it works exactly the same way as the C radar, so once we see him on there, if the target is moving, he'll show up. So basically the way that I've been implementing this, if you have to take out a convoy, for example, once you take off the first one, or take out the first one, they tend to scramble off the road, and they stop moving, so you're going to lose them on the radar. However, once you've got a lock on a target, it'll slave the FLIR to that area, or in this case, since we're using the electro-optical system on the Mavericks, it's going to slave it to that point once we lock on. And then from there, once they're immobile or they're off the road, I can just pull up the FLIR on that page, and it works exactly the same way. Once you lock a target, TDC depressed on that side on the FLIR, and it's just going to slave the electro-optical system over there. Like I said, I didn't typically use the AGM-65, the Foxes, because it was a pain in the ass to find targets with the FLIR, and this just makes it a lot easier. Formula One fans, that is the F1 circuit in Abu Dhabi. Except instead of a Ferrari center, it's got the ED logo on the top of the building. I'm going to do a mission there where we blow up some race cars or something. The other thing too, and I don't know when this changed in the updates, I was having a hard time locking onto things using the AIM-120s and the air-to-air radar, and at some point they switched the lock to...
Passing waypoint 3 at 18,000.
Instead of TDC depress, it actually switched to the sensor select right. So if you want to lock something now, the same way that we use the ground radar, so you use your TDC slew, and then it's sensor select right to lock something. So if any of you guys are struggling like I was with the air-to-air radar, that might be your issue. Alright, so the electro-optical system is warmed up on the Maverick. 52 miles, so we're actually probably fine if we go to 80. Or is 40 the max range? Alright, 40 is max range for ground moving target. Speed brake is awesome. $47 will go to 14,000. One bad thing about the Mavericks is their range is pretty limited. Which I think probably the max range is about 8 miles in this particular version. also feel like they changed the flyby sounds a bit in the last update. I feel like it's missing something that it had before. 41 miles should be popping up here momentarily. Turn on baro hold. Alright, so there he is on the radar. Zoom in and you can see him. And to lock it up, oh, where'd he go? Automatically went to 5. I don't know what I did. Why do you keep going back to 5? Sensors like right. So there you go, 19 knots, and he's traveling 145 degrees. And now if you flip over to the left DDI, it'll automatically uncage it and put it on the target. But at this range, at 36 miles, you're not going to be able to see much. As far as I know, I don't think you can zoom in with the... Oh, you can. So leave him there. And get a positive ID. It's some sort of transport truck that we're supposed to blow up here. Like the A-10-2, the electro-optical system can lock on to random light objects like light posts and other civilian cars and stuff like that. So it does make sure before you launch it that it's actually still tracking with your target. You can see on the HUD there, as long as that diamond and the triangle are stuck together, it generally means that it's tracking on what you've got on your radar. And you can visually verify what's moving with the crosshairs. So now he's going through this town area, so we might actually end up losing him here. Just see what happens. If that happens, you can cage and uncage it to reacquire that lock, or just switch back and forth between the sensors again. Also, I love this livery. About 21 miles, and it's still tracking, which is pretty good. So now you can kind of start to see the outline of the truck there in the middle, which looks like who we're going after. And that timer down the top, 94 seconds to time to maximum range. So we'll be able to launch in about 80 seconds. So now we're inside at 10 miles. I'm gonna go ahead and autopilot. That speed brake going. America. Looks like we're still tracking. And that is 100% our target. master arm. So now the MAV F is not crossed out anymore. We're pretty much good to fire. I'm going to wait till we're about
Focus
4.5 miles.
1-1, passing waypoint 4 at 20,000.
Rifle. See ya. Come off to the left. Kill our speed brake. And get the autopilot back on. Rip. See, it is freaking easy. And if that was a convoy, all of the vehicles would have dispersed off the road, at which point you would lose them on your radar, but the FLIR would be slaved over to that area. So it'd be able to pick them up with that, and then basically link the Maverick and the FLIR just like you would with the A-10. Or you can use your helmet-mounted cueing thing in exactly the same way as you would in the A-10 now too. I forget exactly how to do that, but I had a friend that walked me through it the other day. Cargo plane departing Fujairah en route to Iran. Destroy it. Contact AWACS. Bra. We're on.
1-1, focus 1-1, pop-up group 078-445 at 1,000.
078-445. Let's go air-to-air mode. Select AIM-120s. Tell me my afterburner's on. I am aware. Set that. I'm actually going to leave the FLIR. Let's turn that on. Once we find him and get a lock, that'll actually slave over to him as well too. There he is. Slow down here in a second. Our closure rate is 460 knots. He's 34 miles. Once we're inside of 30 miles, I'll take on a burner, so I'm not using all this fuel. Save the gas. I am curious what the difference between the Super Hornet and the F-18C that we've got in the game, like fuel capacity, is not that impressive. Never turned on data link. IFF don't really need. Also, last time I was talking about having an issue with the FLIR where I've got some buttons mapped on an extra Xbox controller in front of me that I use for the soft keys here on the side to zoom in and out. I was having this issue where it would basically be stuck zoomed in. My friend told me that the same thing that allows you to control your radar elevation, so this little caret on the left side, I have a paddle that I can move up and down that moves the radar scan elevation. And once you have the FLIR selected on this side, it actually works to zoom in and out, which I think was the problem. So now it works without a flaw. 17.7. We'll wait till we get inside 10. Something destroyed. That guy popped again and probably killed another civilian vehicle. Collateral damage. Where he took off from. He's picking up a little bit of speed too. Closure rate's dropping. We're inside of 10 miles now. Fox 3. Hello. How you doing, buddy? He is dead. S-Stone, S1. Take autopilot off here. Never knew what hit him. Contact destroyed. Stand by. We've got some information on that safe house. The safe house where the our first target was going to, I guess. Had to. He was fleeing with something. Important cargo. Got a location in the safe house. Need you to take it out before RTB. Start heading south along the coast and stand by for lat long coordinates. Single structure at the end of a road. Land Rover parked in front, west of cable tower. Alright, so I'm going to go air to ground mode again. I need to put in some coordinates. So let's go HSI. Do waypoint 3. Data. UFC. And we're kind of heading south. Get the autopilot on here. Click that one more time. So add it to position. North. 24, 28 minutes. And east. 56, 37, 34. We'll do elevation feet 0. Always 0 at the elevation so that the FLIR just slews to the ground automatically. Double check that works. Let's go back to HSI waypoint 3, 35.4 miles. Let's go MAV on this page, and what do I want to do? HSI, weapons designate, and now we can pull up the FLIR, which should get us over in that ballpark. I can zoom in on this guy and start looking for him. A little bit of both. Started out ground pounding. I've got one Maverick left, and I guess they want us to destroy this single structure over here, which is a safe house or something. Single structure west of a cable tower, power tower. Which looks like the guy. TDC depressed. Now if we slave this guy, uncage. 27 miles. So I make these things, I generally like to have a combination of different tasks so it doesn't get tedious. Start slowing down here. Freedom boner. We're inside maximum firing range. Rates are a little bit closer here. With 6 miles. He's not moving. There we go. Rifle. Zoom. And if I was going faster. Say we got him, boys. I don't think we need to go to Align for fuel. Let's see how far out we are here. $113 miles. And DCS sunsets are pretty legit. Honestly, the midday lighting is kind of bad in here. It feels like everything's kind of washed out or overblown or something. I think there's mods that you can get that will fix that, but the transition lighting in morning and afternoon or evening is pretty awesome. Even with a headwind, 530 knots ground speed. Burning 6,000 an hour. We got 6.8 left. Plenty. Those nav lights going. Going 264. There we go. It's true. I mean, it's hard to compete with the volumetric clouds and stuff in FS 2020. I've never played War Thunder. Well, I haven't played War Thunder in years. I know that they had some big update recently. But I'm not really super interested in it because it's kind of like sim light, and I'm a huge nerd. I do have FS 2020, but I rarely use it. I have friends that play that game religiously, including some of pilot buddies and stuff like that. So I guess it's pretty good. Don't know, haven't played it in years. Would you say it's worth it? I mean, it's free to play, but it just seems grindy to me to get to the airplanes that I want to use. Alright, anti-skid is on. Dispenser's off. Do the rest of that later. Are there like different types of servers or rooms depending on which era of airplane that you use? Because I mean, it covers a pretty wide spectrum, doesn't it? Could you theoretically then have a game room that had a whole bunch of different mix and matches of eras? Oh, there's our divert airport. Gotcha. May have to give it another go at some point. So I like Flight Sim 2020, but it just, I don't know, it gets a little boring, I guess. Can't drop bombs and stuff. No dogfighting. Aircraft carrier landing. I guess you can fly aircraft carriers, but I don't know why I'd fly an F-18 in that game versus this one. I would get back into it more if they fixed the avionics, so you could actually put in flight plans and you could do procedures and stuff like that, so you could practice it for IFR stuff. But as far as I know right now, the only thing out there that's probably worth flying is that the CRJ mod that somebody just put out, which I've installed, I just haven't used it yet. Oh yeah, no, that's, I mean, I guess that's one of the appealing things for people, particularly flight nerds and stuff. Plus they've got tanks and stuff too.
Field 1-1, inbound.
Enfield 1-1, fly heading 253 for 26, QFE 29.87, runway 31 to pattern altitude.
400 knots, under 10,000. Breaking the law. There it is. Well, I mean, I guess if you included different modules and stuff for DCS, some of those airplanes are in there, but I mean, obviously we're not getting anywhere near 500. To me, and I was saying this to somebody recently, is that I keep, of all the different types of games that I play, the ones that have the most consistent replay value to me are simulators, and having more and more high fidelity stuff is one of the things that keeps me coming back, which is part of the reason that I've never been particularly attracted to War Thunder. I did play it for a little while before I had a PC, and I had PC3, there was a game that was a precursor to War Thunder called like Birds of Steel or something like that. It was the closest you could get to a flight simulator on consoles at the time. Then War Thunder came out, and I played it for a little while on that. Me too. Generally speaking, I like stuff that doesn't hold your hand in terms of avionics. This airplane in particular, is just super easy to fly because it's all fly-by-wire stuff, You point it in a direction and it generally does, kind of translates your inputs. I like it, the old stuff like F-86s, even the World War II era birds and the F-14, stuff that doesn't hold your hand.
Enfield 1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower.
Will do. MiG-19, also the MiG-15. Having gunfights in the air is pretty awesome. The MiG-9, I can't say that I'm familiar with that. Let's get it trimmed here, bud. There we go. First proper jet, you mean other than the Messerschmitt 262? Or what, like, the kind of later became the general go-to, having like a center-mounted jet kind of thing? I have to look it up. I can't visualize what that looks like right now.
Enfield 1-1, check landing gear. Wind 308 at 4 meters per second. Runway 31.
See, this does a pretty good job. One of the things that other flight simulators don't do is, like, when you get trimmed for landing, you control your descent and stuff with your power. And now I've got it trimmed, the velocity vector's inside the E-bracket. I'm literally just controlling it up and down with a throttle, which I like. I'm not even really touching the joystick at the moment. Flaps, freedom boater. Russia's first proper jet. I just read first proper jet. Do you play DCS too? .45mm instead of the 30. Even the 37 was extreme, but I bet those are basically the same thing as kind of like, you know, the grenade type rounds that they use in the M203 or the Mark 19, where you kind of had to lob them. I bet those would be hard to land actual shots in air-to-air combat. That is insane, though. That is interesting. I'm going to look up what those look like, too. That's one of the things that kind of sucks about dogfighting with the F-86. If you're fighting against, like a MiG-15, for example, they've got a 37mm. So if you get lucky and you land a snapshot as they're passing the nose, unless you kill the pilot or you hit something critical, I mean, chances are you're not going to actually do anything. But if they land one lucky shot with one of those 37mm cannons, you're done, buddy. Also, doesn't the BF-109 have a crazy cannon in it too? One mounted right in the spinner on the nose. They do that in general with all of their hardware. I mean, even their rifles and stuff. I mean, even their equivalent of the 50 caliber is bigger than ours. Their standard rifle cartridge, well, I guess now they use the 5.45 too, but before with the AK-47 it was like 7.62 by 39. A lot of their armored personnel carriers, 30mm or bigger. Three 37mm shoved in it, the LA-200. Never saw service. Man, you know some good airplane trivia. I'm a pilot nerd. I've never even heard of most of these airplanes. Boys, we're home. Wait, the BMP and the BTRs have 20mm? I thought those were 30. So they just go big or go home on their airplanes, but they leave the APCs and light armor and stuff 20mm. Oh yeah, I've been killed by that frickin' missile so many times in this game. I always forget that it's on there, because you see all the tracers and stuff, and you feel like, well, you get close, they'll start using the coaxial machine gun instead of the cannon. And then you start hearing pops, and they're not RPGs. That little piece of shit. We did it, boys. We murdered some stuff. Some of them do. Some of them do. I like some of their aesthetics, but other ones, I mean, think about like the MI8. That thing is ugly. It looks like a bread loaf with the rotor on the top. I like flying and everything. Also, I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary complexity with their aircraft. And it could be wrong just because I'm familiar with like the MiG-29 and the Mi-8 and like a handful of other ones. It just seems like there's often a lot of extra things that they probably could have simplified. Those are pretty cool looking. However, I still don't think that most things aesthetically compared to like the F-14 is my favorite. Obviously, the F-15 looks amazing. The F-18 is good. The F-16. Not a huge fan of the F-22. I'm impressed by its performance and stuff like that. But I mean, in terms of aesthetics, I think America's got a beat. Oh yeah, I'm familiar. It's an ugly helicopter. It literally looks like a loaf of bread. Which is making me hungry now. Anyway, dude, speaking of hungry, I'm gonna go get some lunch here, boys. Estone? Est1? How do you say that? I don't know. Thanks for hanging out, man. Oh yeah, the H-34, those I think are hideous, but also pretty cool. And I read a book recently, which I was talking about to someone else called, I think I got it over here somewhere. What is it called? Standby. There it is. Across the Fence. It was about... Oh, Yogo... Yeah, I gotcha. Across the Fence, about like the Green Berets who used to go into Laos and stuff. And those guys flew on the H-34s, which they called CBs. Yoga Boglo. Alright, buddy. I'm out of here. If you guys are interested, anyone who's watching on YouTube, if you want the Ms. file for this, just to practice with, I'll throw that in the Discord. Everybody else, I'll see you later. There, it's true, but I don't like doing... I mean, generally speaking, I'm doing other things during the day anyway, but I don't like doing like the super long stream. Maybe one day I'll do another one at night. Get drunk and just fly for 3 hours. Or crash, whatever may be the case. That's something I used to do when I first started, still flying X-plane and stuff like that. Those like epic, long, 6-hour streams. Hey, can't all be winners, boys. We'll talk to you later. Peace!